Door growers to the Door Grow Show. If you are a property management entrepreneur that wants to add doors, make a difference, increase revenue, help others, impact lives, and you're interested in growing in business and life, and you're open to doing things a bit differently, then you are a door grower. Door grower property managers love the opportunities, daily variety, unique challenges, and freedom that property management brings. Many in real estate think you're crazy for doing it. You think they're crazy for not, because you realize that property management is the ultimate high trust gateway to real estate deals, relationships, and residual income. At DoorGrow, we are on a mission to transform property management business owners and their businesses. We want to transform the industry, eliminate the BS, build awareness, change perception, expand the market, and help the best property management entrepreneurs win. I'm your host, property management growth expert Jason Hull, the founder and CEO of DoorGrow, along with Sarah Hull, the co-owner and COO of DoorGrow. Now let's get into the show. And we're hanging out here with Kent Hardman. Kent, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. Glad to finally be here after
All
a little
right.
technical difficulties.
It's good to have you. So you've been a client for how long now?
About a year.
About a year. And this has been quite a journey for you. You're in a very different place you were, now from a year ago. And so why don't we go back and why don't you give the listeners a little bit of your background and history so they get an idea of who you are and what got you into property management?
Sure. So I'm here in Cincinnati, Ohio. I grew up in Cincinnati, won the parent lottery, had a pair of awesome parents, and I grew up in this old Tudor. And from a young age, I was fascinated with architecture, real estate. Went to Miami University here, close to Cincinnati. Had what I refer to as my real job for a couple of years. Worked for a manufacturer in their marketing department, and I just knew it wasn't for me. I always wanted to get into real estate, and it was about 2006. I was networking with real estate companies. Nobody was hiring because of the economy. 2008 happened, and literally I got into real estate in September of 2008. People were running for the doors, and I was running into a burning building. And I started out, I got my real estate license first because that was the easiest thing for me to do, and did the realtor thing for a little bit. Nothing against real estate agents, but I had bigger ambitions than that, and got into buying rental property in Cincinnati. And at the time, my father retired. Financially, he had some cash to throw at some investments, and me and my dad started buying apartment buildings. And how I got into property management was just learning by doing it for myself. Bought a bunch of apartment buildings, a lot of 10 families. That then evolved into doing some urban development in Cincinnati. Cincinnati has recently gone through a great renaissance. So I was also in charge of doing the property management, but then also putting deals together, development type deals, specifically in historic type shells that me and my dad would buy and build new on the inside. And going back, so I'm 44 right now, going back 2 years ago, I was trying to kind of figure out what my second act is going to be. And, I just identified how much I enjoy property management. Everything that you listed at the beginning of your podcast, that's why I'm in it. And, I love the flexibility, the freedom. I just enjoy the different people I meet, both from landlords to tenants. And yeah, so then I joined DoorGrow about a year ago, and it changed it from just a thought to me actually being serious. Like, yeah, I'm actually doing this.
So where were you at when you joined DoorGrow? What was going on that made you decide, hey, I need to get some help, or I want to join a coaching program? What was going on?
Yeah, you guys found me on Facebook. Some ads started popping up. I'm like, what is this? And clicked on it, and immediately, in the original video I saw, you just jumped right into mindset, and I was like, wow, okay, this is a property management type coach with mindset. I'm like, that's a pretty potent mix. And yeah, just at the time, personally, I was in a really rough spot that I'm happy to dive into if you like. And yeah, DoorGrow just helped me just get the momentum to start making some phone calls. I was sitting there having the idea to do it, but not doing it. And I was like, well, I'm going to join this. And by doing that, it just gave me the confidence to start reaching out to people and, hey, I'll manage your property.
Yeah. So, well, cool. You had mentioned, you were struggling with some stuff. What was going on in your life at the time that you joined the program?
Sure,
You had a
yeah.
lot from what I remember.
Yeah, so long story short, I was in a mentally abusive relationship with somebody, and we were not married, and something happened that I was able to get her out of my life. Well, then our daughter, we share a daughter together that I basically raised by myself. In the state of Ohio, women have all the rights over children, and she got at me, and I didn't see my daughter for about 6 months, and that was I compare it's about the closest thing to losing a child that you can, get to. Nice thing
Yeah.
is I didn't, but it was basically on that level.
Yeah. My first marriage, when that dissolved, my ex took off with the kids to another state.
Yeah,
And it was basically like, if you want to see them, come up here. And I
yeah,
did. And by the time I got there, she had moved somewhere else. Right. So I spent like 7 years doing custody battles and chasing just to be in my kids' lives. And it's tough. It's tough stuff. So there's nothing to make you value your kids like somebody taking them away from you.
yeah,
So, and that's really, my kids are what got me into entrepreneurs, and that's really what drove me to be able to have the flexibility to control my day and my life and my week so that when I had them, I could spend time. It was a big deal to me. So,
yeah,
but their perspective is probably dad's always working because he's working from home. But yeah, it made being able to be an entrepreneur and have that freedom was what really drove me to do what I do. So, so yeah, I remember us having some pointed conversations. Like you were struggling, I think, just cognitively or mentally with everything that was going on with you. There was a lot of stress. You were dealing with a lot of stuff. And my perception from the coach's perspective is that your confidence was kind of shot. You just like you had the skill, you had the knowledge, and we could teach you the stuff to do. But in the beginning, you really weren't believing in yourself.
yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, mentally, I was struggling just to get out of bed. I mean, it was a challenge just to face the day, and I'll never forget at the time I went to go see somebody, a therapist to talk to, and she said, "Oh, what are you doing?" I'm like, "Well, I'm trying to do this property management thing." Well, what do you do on a daily basis? Well, I call people that don't want to, hear from me, and and she's like, "You probably need to get another job." And, and I'll never forget, she said,
Yeah.
"Well, why don't tomorrow you call one person, and then from there, try to do better the next day." And at the same time, I reached out to a good friend of mine, probably my closest friend, and I just said, "Hey, man, I'm not doing good. Like, what should I do?" And he said, "Man, concentrate on the little things. Are you taking care of yourself? Are you eating good? Are you sleeping? Are you keeping a regular routine with the sleep schedule?" I wasn't doing any of those things, and so just one day,
I
I
think
just
we had a similar conversation. I'm like, self-care is the
yeah,
foundation.
yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
got to start there. Put your own oxygen mask on first. Yeah.
So yeah, exactly. Yeah, the plane's going down, and you're supposed to put your mask on first. How can I help my daughter if I can't even help myself? And
Yeah.
it just started just one day I got out of bed and took a shower, and I'm like, wow, that's more than I've done in a couple weeks. And then I picked up the phone, and the next day I called somebody else. And then it got into a point of me just, I'm not naturally a outgoing salesy type person.
Yeah.
And then I just started killing it. I just enjoyed the numbers game. I enjoyed that I could call 50 people,
Mm.
and it wouldn't bother me. 49 of them wouldn't want to talk to me. It'd be that one, just that feeling of just, that home run that you hit. Like, yeah, man, that was worth it. And that's how I started. I just started calling strangers. I have a specific geographical area that I targeted, and I had a way that I hunted down their information. It was a lot of data mining, but it was just dialing for dollars is how I got my start.
Yeah. So what shifted being involved in the coaching at Doorgrow? Like what do you feel like really had an impact for you and how did it help you? And and how many doors did you have when you started with us? Let's start with there.
0.
Okay, 0 doors. How many doors are you at right now?
107.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so, um, you know, where do you think you would be if you didn't have DoorGrow? How did DoorGrow contribute? How would this be different?
Yeah. The first question you asked, how did DoorGrow help me? Sense of community is the first thing that
Mm,
came to mind. The fact I was joining forward-thinking property managers. I felt like I was at home because it's something that, I believe in. I believe the industry is a little behind the times in a couple different areas, technology being one, and, we can dive into all the other areas, but just I felt like I was in a place where people understood what I was trying to do professionally.
yeah.
And, that was a big thing, the community, but then another big portion of it was just the having somebody holding me accountable. I'll never forget Morgan reaching out to me. Hey, how can I help? How can I help? I'm like, hey, check in with me. Make sure I'm calling my 50 people a day. Just
Mm.
do that weekly. Because then I'm telling you I'm doing it. If I'm not doing it, I feel a lot more responsible if I'm telling somebody I'm going to do what I need to do.
Mm. So, yeah, I think you put in the work, and it's awesome to see that. We can give clients the strategies, and the stuff that we give people to do works, but not everybody does it. How are what what's different? A lot of people listening are like, all they're hearing is like, Kent makes a bunch of phone calls. They're like, I don't want to do that. What what's different about the strategies that you're doing with DoorGrow versus what you maybe would have tried on your own then?
I would have just been kicking tires if it was just myself. It still would have been an idea. Hey, I'm going to do this. It's really it just gave me that confidence. Even jumping on the weekly calls and talking to people, kind of sharing the war stories. It's like, I'm not the only one having these struggles, it's been great to, not that I like hearing people struggle, but it's nice to hear other people are going through the same thing I was, and that goes back to kind of that sense of community that I got from joining DoorGrow.
Did you go through the rapid revamp class?
I did. Yep.
And so what changes did you make to your business going through that? Pricing, your sales pitch, branding,
Yeah,
website, any of these?
all of them, but the one that really stands out is my pitch. That was something that, like I said earlier, I'm not naturally a very confident person. I'm a very empathetic, peace and love type person, and the idea of being a very salesy person intimidated me. But you kind of alluded to it. It was just a lack of confidence. I know I can do what I need to do. It's just having that confidence and believing. And yeah, just really defining my pitch. It was the biggest thing I took from that course.
Mm,
Website was an amazing, pricing, all that stuff. But that was the one big thing I took from it.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, it really is. It's pretty significant that the level of confidence that you go into in sales when you just know that
Yeah.
what your pitch is, and you know why you're doing what you're doing, and you know that you can benefit people. And that's what we teach. We teach authentic sales. And seeing you shift from thinking you had to be a salesperson to shifting into having a solid pitch and just knowing that you could help people and being able to go out and do that, it probably made it a lot easier to just even make the phone calls and reach out to the right partners and the right people that could do some business with you.
Oh yeah, having that confidence, and another big thing that I'm thinking of coming through here with us talking here is just the whole concept of momentum. I would call, get one person, okay, let me get another person, and just that idea of just let's keep the ball rolling, let's do a little bit better the next day.
Yeah, it starts to give you evidence when it's somebody's doing sales and they start to get evidence. That's when magic happens, because then we have our confidence becomes real.
Yeah,
Then we
right.
can see that we are getting results. We can see that the needle's moving in a positive direction. and that can be really significant. Um,
So Kent, do you mind kind of talking about like the financial situation that you were in and kind of like your journey through all of that? Because um I think that's something that a lot of people really, really struggle with is like it's not business is not easy. And sometimes, we either underestimate or really overestimate like what it's going to look like. Very rarely, I think, are we accurate in our planning and our methodology. So if you wouldn't mind, like, it's just sharing some of the financial piece, like what did this look like, from kind of the start to like where you are now.
mm,
Yeah. What I've described to people is when I said what I like do, I said, hey, growing a property management company it's not impossible. It's a difficult thing to do, but I did it with my two arms tied behind my back, because I was struggling just to get out of bed, is where I began. And, it's just I knew that I could do it. Once again, going back to the confidence and the routine of doing it. But yeah, the at the end of the day, I enjoy this business for multiple reasons. But from a financial piece, I enjoy the residual income that comes in. I enjoy
yes.
the flexibility that this job allows. And yeah, my expectations coming in, I had my spreadsheet on what it would look like. And, my goal was 100 doors. I'm going to be at 100 doors. And I know, Jason, you shared that's a lot of people when they start up kind of their goal. And I'll never forget, it was right around Christmas time last year. I'm like, well, I got to call somebody. And, I started calling people. And after my first day, I said, my goal is 100 doors by the end of the year, 1 year from now. Well, I was able to reach that last month, September 13th. And it was a very it was a very good feeling that day, kind of walking on clouds, like, man, did I really just do that? And just looking back, I just had to put in the work. At the end of the day, it was a challenge to call that first person, but I just knew, I told myself, I'm gonna have to pound these phones for 6 months, is what I told myself. And so I'm like, all right, May, June, I should start getting some income. Man, it was right on the dot. I mean, literally day one of the second half of the year, client number one, client number two, but it's like you got to have that long-term vision to get through that kind of rut of a week of without securing anything. You just gotta. And once again, going back to door grow gave me the confidence. I mean, if I didn't have door grow, I'm sure I would have gave up. Like, yeah, this is not going anywhere.
Mhm. Yeah. So, I mean, it's been awesome seeing your growth. And where are you at now? Like, we know you've got more doors. But how does life feel different for you?
The biggest thing,
What, like, and what I mean is, in the beginning, struggling to get out of bed, like life was difficult, zero doors in the beginning. And give us some contrast, help us understand what's life like now for you.
I mean, night and day.
Yeah.
I wasn't, I love the quote. I don't know who said it, but if you have more than three priorities in your life, you have zero.
Yeah.
And, right when I heard that, I'm like, man, what are my three priorities?
Mm.
Well, my health, because if I don't have my health, my longevity, I got nothing. That's a
Yeah.
foundation. So, taking time to work out, to exercise, to bike, family is the second one. My daughter, my parents, and then the third is work. And just having that focus has given me great clarity. I don't have time for anything else outside of my three priorities. I went to bed last night about 8 o'clock. I was dead tired because I busted my butt on my three priorities. So, to answer your question, how's it switched? It's just I'm so thankful for what I went through, because it's given me extreme focus on what's important to me, what I need to do to survive and to thrive.
Mm. Yeah. We had a good conversation about 10X, I remember. What did you take away from that coaching call?
Yeah, it's so funny. We talked when you originally and you started with health, hey man, make sure you're, working out, make sure you're taking care of yourself. I mean, I took a lot from that, but that was the biggest thing. I wasn't taking care of myself. And I got better over this year, but I made that priority number one. I prioritized sleep. I prioritized going to the gym. And the other big thing I got from it was I was kind of messing around. Like, I didn't realize how close I actually was. I thought it was going to take me forever to get where I wanted to be door grow wise, or door count wise. And it was like to the day, like maybe not even a week, when I went from 30 doors to 105 doors. And all that was it was easier, or what I took from the conversation, it was easier for me to like try to be a professional athlete than trying to be like a college athlete, And so what I did was I started calling people in my database with more doors. I stopped messing around with the 2 families, and I was going 4 families and up. And just from there, these things just started gushing in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, we chatted about that. And for those listening, the conversation was something like it's easier to do 10x than 2x, which comes from the book with the title 10x is easier than 2x by Ben Hardy, he's teaching Dan Sullivan's principles in that book. And but the idea is there's very few things that can get you that you can do to 10x. And when you think about that, and there's a lot of things, infinite things you could do to 2x your business, right? To have incremental growth. So I challenge you. I said, I want you to sit with that question and think, what could I do to 10x? And when we just start exploring that question, we start to change our behaviors. And you found some ways. You're like, well, I'll go after people with more doors. People with more doors, secretly, for those listening, the people with more units and more doors are better clients. They value you more typically, and they are easier to get on, than the one-offs in a lot of situations. And so, we can choose our ideal customer and go after them. And you started shifting your focus, which is interesting. And then you started seeing a shift in your door count significantly.
And it's worth repeating what you said there. The higher door count people, the more sophisticated investors, are way easier than some of the mom and pops with like a 2 family, for every reason you just mentioned right there.
Yeah, they get so emotional about their property. They maybe used to live in it. They're like, Timmy etched his height in the wall like since he was, a little kid, and like we need to maintain it to like it has to stay the same forever, and they don't want to treat it like a rental property. Yeah. So yeah, well, Kent, we've really appreciated having you as a client. It's been great to see your growth and success. Where do you see yourself in a year from now?
Yeah, so there's kind of 2 things going on. What I'm thinking, I've just seen, my number one priority right now. I'm at the door number that I wanted to be there. I set out to be a year ago, or less than a year ago. I want to make sure my highest priority right now is make sure I can deliver to what I told the people I can do. So yes, I have greater ambitions of growing doors, but me servicing what I already have right now is of my number one priority. And number 2, and I've mentioned this to you, Jason. I've mentioned it to a couple other people. Me getting up to 1,000 doors is going to be easier than what I just went through over the past year to get to 100. And I'm using the last part of this year to kind of button up my processes with the things that I'm servicing right now, and going into next year, my goal is going to be to let me double what I did. Let me try to get 200 doors, and just see where that goes. But then I say that, it's like, wow, screw that. I'm gonna go after 1,000 doors. Why am I selling myself short?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's interesting. I think a lot of people listening to this might have less than 100 doors. And if you do, reach out to DoorGrow. Let's get your business fixed up. Because having less than 100 doors is not really a profitable business. Like, it's really difficult to make money when you have like 20 doors or 30 doors, right? 50 doors. And a lot of people get stuck right there as a solopreneur. And they've already made usually a lot of mistakes related to pricing and branding and everything else. So everything feels so uphill. And then a lot of times they're losing more doors sometimes than they're getting on, or about the same. So they have this high churn rate where they're losing clients every year and then getting some clients and they're like, I'm not growing. That's a painful grind to be in. And that's way harder than if you break the 100-door barrier in a healthy way, which you did, and you know how to grow, which you do, and you know how to grow independently of ads. You're not beholden to some marketer, to advertising agencies. Like, you can just go out there and create business, and it actually takes you less time than it would to follow up on cold, crappy leads that you were buying. And so you're doing things in a smarter way than most property managers do, because most probably are listening to this going, oh, I don't want to make phone calls. I'm going to go be stupid and spend a bunch of money on ads and try and do a bunch of advertising instead, because they want to avoid something that's going to actually work well and get them warmer leads that have a higher close rate, that they're not competing with the low price property manager, out in the market.
It's just, I think it's the perception of pain.
Mm.
It's all, it's not, people aren't like, oh, I want to do it this way instead. It's just that it sounds painful, where it sounds a lot easier just to be like, oh, I'll just pay for ads. I'll pay a marketer and then like leads will come to me. It sounds easier. And it's so deceptive because it's so hard. It's so hard. But it sounds, I think when people hear like, oh, well, I have to talk to people and I have to make a bunch of calls and I have to reach out to a bunch of people, I have to do a bunch of work, then they go, oh, this is like this hard thing. But what they don't realize is that if you're spending money on ads and you're advertising, and you're getting leads that are coming to you, you still have to make a bunch of calls. You still have to talk to a bunch of people. You still have to do a bunch of work, and you're actually doing more work because these people don't know who you are. And you're just spending money. Like, hopefully this works. I hope it works. So Kent, was that something that was like hard for you to kind of like get over that hurdle and just like start doing the work? Was that hard for you?
Oh yeah. I mean, I procrastinated forever, it's, I spent so much time, oh, I'm going to do this, with, trying to find leads and, basically I was just prolonging the pain, then finally one day I was like, just call somebody. I think the best example was, it was right around Memorial Day. It was that Saturday. And I got up, I'm like, all right, I'm going to call my 50 contacts or my 50 buildings. And man, I was pacing around my computer because I did not want to do it. I came up with every excuse. Oh, it's a holiday. Nobody wants to talk to me. There were some curse words that I just started saying to myself, like just trying to hype myself up. Like, man, just do it. Just do it. Finally, I sat down and did and started calling. And call number one. So I reached out to 50 prospects, 50 buildings. Call number one was a home run. Call number 50 was a home run. Everything in the middle was a dud. But I was just like, I got off. It was so funny. After that first one and that 50th, I was like, wow, that was a lesson right there. You just don't know what's around the corner. But yeah, Sarah, yeah, definitely procrastinated to finally pick up the phone. But once I, talking about that momentum, once I started getting some first base hits, those then turned into double plays, and then they got a couple home runs out of it. But you just got to start.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for sharing that.
Cool. Well, Ken, any parting words of wisdom for people that are right now in a similar spot to where you were when you first came to us? Or maybe they're dabbling like 20, 30 doors, are struggling.
Yeah, I mean, it's been, there's been a couple things in my life that were like moments that I'm like, man, that changed my course. And one was joining DoorGrow professionally. And, the second, Jason, was the call that me and you had, maybe a month or two ago when I shared what I went through. That was just two things that just got tattooed in my brain. And I know I've said this a few times to you, even, I'm like, oh, I could have got where I am right now, but DoorGrow helped me do it quicker. I'm confident in saying I'm even going to remove that from my vocabulary. I would not have been able to get to where I am right now. Yes, I did put in the work, but DoorGrow was great on show me little tricks of the trade, some different technologies I can implement that just compress that time from a very long time into a very short time. So yeah, if anybody's on the fence about joining you guys, I'm a customer for life.
That's good stuff. We're ending right now. That's it.
Right. That's it. That's all we need to hear. My day is complete. Thank you. And because this is what we do.
Yeah.
This is what we do, and we like doing it. Like I'm this like really fulfills me. This is what I'm really, really passionate about doing, is making that change and making that impact.
Yeah. Can we be real? So like yesterday was a rough day for us, right?
Yeah.
Why
But
was
we
it
do
rough?
have to
We're going to wrap up.
like now.
But like business can be rough
Fall.
sometimes. Like, we get stressed out. We like feel overwhelmed. Things change in the business. Things change with the team. Sometimes you get bad news. Like business is not easy, but it's a new day. You pick yourself up, you get to work. And Kent, it's been awesome seeing you put in the work, get the results. And that's really what we value as client or as coaches. We need clients that are willing to do the work required to get the result. We will just help them with the system. And when we get great people and they have a system, they're going to win. There's no question. Our system's proven. We love when we get to connect with the right people that are ready for a good system. And those of you listening, when you really want success, when you're really committed to success and you're willing to do the work required and you just do it, even if you're sucking at it, the system will become clear. You will find the system. And that's when greatness starts to come. That's where success starts to come. So put in the work, put in the effort, and then when you're ready, reach out to DoorGrow. We've got the system, and then we'll help you get going. So, Ken, thanks for coming on the show. Appreciate you.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Ken.
thanks for your time.
We'll talk to you again soon.
All right, sounds good. See you guys.
All right. So if you are a property management entrepreneur that's wanting to add doors and make a difference in everything that we talked about, then reach out. We would love to support you. Just go to doorgrow.com. Also go to doorgrowclub.com. Join our free group and community. We give away a lot of value. Hopefully that'll get you up to the point where you can afford to work with us. And when you're ready, we're here to help you take things to the next level. So bye everyone. Until next time, to our mutual growth.